From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy. The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Azan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, 2 days worth of observations, growth at positions of concern. Michael Langston with a recruiting wrap-up, and we get to the rest of the Renegade Express mailbag. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code buys you one, gets you one free. What's it spell out? What's the promo code, Corey?
Corey Bogo. Is it Corey Bogo or is it Warchant Bogo?
Warchant Bogo.
Oh, it's Warchant Bogo. That's right. Warchant Bogo, everyone.
VitaminEnergyEverybody.com. Use that promo code. Buy one, get one free. World's first clinically tested, clinically proven energy shot to improve focus, your mood, immune response, the pump in the gym. It's funny, Corey. Like I'm getting back into some of the supplement game out here. Like I'm taking creatine because you've inspired me. And like I look at the workout, and the workout's got vitamins, obviously, because it's Vitamin Energy. And like a lot of these things are in the pre-workout that's supposed to give you like a nice full pump. And I'm like, I could have just been taking the Vitamin Energy workout every single day instead of mixing in some of the mood and the focus. So
right.
Now you know, kids. IYKYK. Warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. Come join us, everybody. Golly, Aslan, I never do a good job of having all this stuff ready in front of me here, Corey. But somebody posted a really nice comment on our YouTube page about how it's worth every single penny they spend every single month to be a subscriber to Warchant.com. And I'm like, amen. Amen. And you can be a subscriber, everybody. You watch, everybody, like the 9-minute video that either Ben Spicer or myself films of practice. Every single day they have practice. We're out there, we're filming it. It's periods 1, 2, and 4. Period 3, we're not allowed to film. It's 11 on 11. It's team. Man, after that, they do 7 on 7s, 1 on 1s. There's pass pro. There's inside run game. There's 7 on 7, more team periods, all this stuff that you don't see. But if you paid $1 for the next 2 months, you could read every observation that Corey Clark makes at practice or Ira Schofel makes at practice. I just think that's money well spent. But again, it's kind of a little bit being biased, Corey. But again, 2 months, $1, FSU1. That's a promo code. Use that. How are you, Corey? I saw you a few hours ago, but just want to just double check, make sure everything's well.
Everything's good, man. Everything's good. For me, we still got another week. I know practice has already started, but as long as Brady's out of school, it still feels like summer is here. So I feel like we still got another week of summer, getting his car ready to be driven. As the parent of a 16-year-old, that is terrifying. But I did it. I drove, So, I mean, I guess we got to let our kids drive when they get to 16. And he had his last baseball tournament of the summer, and he had a good tournament, and they did pretty well overall. But, like, on Sunday, thank gosh I wasn't there, he had to be an hour – his mom had to get up at, like, 6:45 on a Sunday morning to drive him to a tournament for a game that started at 9. It's Atlanta, but it's an hour away. The point being, I don't feel like we have to do that anymore. He can drive himself to these tournaments now, right?
Yeah.
These 8 a.m., these 9 a.m. starts on a Sunday, it's like, all right, man, tell me how you did. Tell me how you did, or I'll look at the box score at the end. So it's pretty cool to it's scary and frightening, but also cool to realize he can start kind of, living his own life a little bit.
Amen, brother. It's the summer that Brady Clark found himself. Can't wait to see how it all works out. Almost I can't wait to see how this all works out when this team hits the football field. We got 2 days worth of observations. I don't know how you want to go about doing it, Corey, but we obviously got to watch practice on Friday. Saturday was kind of a day off, at least for the players. The coaches had to do a lot of recruiting with the Seminole Showcase being on campus, which, by the way, Michael Langston will join us at the end of the show to give us a little bit of a wrap-up of that. But 2 days more of a practice, both of them in shells. I guess let's start off at wide receiver, offensive side of the ball first, Corey, because I know that's a big point of contention for a lot of people out there watching. And there's a bit of an up and down play, but it felt like, you asked about Hakeem specifically after practice on Sunday morning, and Coach Norvell gave a pretty encouraging response, it felt like, in terms of what he's been seeing out of him. What have you been seeing?
About of Hakeem or just the whole wide receiver room?
Well, you asked him about Hakeem, and then I think then he almost felt obligated to talk about every single wide receiver. But
I thought he was actually good about Hakeem because he did talk. I think he was asked about maybe Hakeem early, and then I said, what have you seen from him? And he was specific to Hakeem, saying, look, he's getting close.
Yes.
It feels like he's getting close. And I kind of feel that way too. Like, again, I want to qualify all this by saying we just watched. We're 4 days in. We're 4 practices in. They still don't have full pads on. Like, shells are very close to full pads for the purposes of practice in college football in 2024. Nobody's being tackled at their legs anyway. But Hakeem, I did not think day 2 especially was not impressive at all. Didn't like much of anything I saw from him, and I'm like, what is this? But the last 2 days, he's been good. He had a long catch, I believe, on Friday in one-on-ones for what would have been like a 95-yard touchdown. And then he had a catch. Well, he had he had 3 or 4 catches during 11-on-11 on Sunday, including one that's probably a 65-yard touchdown with the way the play developed and him being able to stop before he ran out of bounds and cut upfield. The point being, he's working with guys that will be playing a lot. He's on the field against good players, and he's on the field with the best players on the offense. And it sure seems like he's starting to take that next step where, to me anyway, it looks like he has a very good chance to be a starter. Again, we're day 4. But I really did like what I saw from him on Sunday. Again, he's not effervescent. He's not a shooting star. It's not incredible. But it's solid and consistent and good, which is what you need from him. He's not going to be a superstar this year, at least early on, I wouldn't think. But he needs to be solid and consistent and be a legitimate weapon on the other side of who I think will be Malik Benson. Okay. And at least these last 2 days, I think that's a very big development. Hopefully he can keep stacking these days on. But I think these last 2 days he's proven that he might just be the number 2. He's certainly in contention for it right now.
I saw Malik getting barked at by an important person at practice on Sunday. Is he still doing all right?
Michael Alford. Was it Michael Alford? Tell that AD to quit barking at the receivers. No, it wasn't Alford. I thought Malik had a good day too. They're all going to be barked at. It's not like Norvell. Yeah. Norvell barked at Johnny and Keon too, and Jordan every now and again. Not much here the last couple of years with Jordan. Right. I think Malik the last 2 days, really the whole, he didn't do a whole lot on day 1, but again, they're in shorts. And I say he didn't do a whole lot. He just didn't stand out. No splash plays. He's been good the last 3 days. Very good. There was a play, Aslan, I think you were on that sideline when it happened. It was very similar to the touchdown I was just talking about with Hakeem, where he catches the ball and cuts it upfield. He gets free near the sideline. A great throw from, I believe that was DJ on that one. That's a great throw. He catches it and turns upfield. And it's one of those plays where it looks like one of the DBs has the angle on him, and nope, no chance. That speed is the truth. Now, Shaheem, I think, probably would have gotten him around the 5 or so. Now, the whistles are being – I want to paint the context in the picture. Once the guy's broken free and the play is just basically one-on-one or one-on-none, the whistles start blowing. Now, the guy with the ball is still supposed to sprint to the end zone. That's just how they teach them. Finish. Run to the end zone. Even if you got pushed out of bounds 5 yards away, run to the end zone. But Shaheem was running with them too. And that was going to be – that Shaheem can really move, man. Yeah, man. He is a fast dude. But that was going to be a play right near the 5-yard line. But either way, another big play, another nice play from that receiver. I haven't seen him drop – I don't know that I've seen him drop a pass. I can't say that for all the other guys. But I feel like Malik is catching almost everything that's thrown his way. And that speed is really, really good. That's really, really impressive.
So safe to say it feels like Malik won, and then it's Hakeem and Kentron just kind of trading haymakers seemingly every day to try to hold on to the other side.
And knowing that Jakai is going to be a part of it too in some capacity. Again, we figure that's a slot guy. By the way, Jakai, nobody loves Jakai more than I do. I love that guy. I love what he's meant to this team the last 4 years. He's had some huge plays. Sunday, not his best day.
No.
Got open a lot.
Did. Yep.
Yeah, but just do with that what you will. Got open a lot. Not a lot of completions, though. Got to get that squared away. But, yeah, man, I think Right now, yes, I think it's Hakeem and Kentron fighting for that starting spot on the other side of Malik. But also, everybody knows this. It ain't like there's only this isn't 2013 where they're only gonna play 3 receivers. Like this is gonna be they're gonna try to use their depth. In the third quarter, if you've been running around chasing late third quarter, you've been chasing Ja'Kai Douglas around and Malik Benson around for 2.5 hours, and then all of a sudden Jalen Brown is on the field, or Jalen Lucas moves to the slot for a play or two. Like that's the speed comes at you in waves. And I thought it was interesting what Azareye'h said about that when he was talking about just going up against this receiving core so far through this practice and what it's like. And he says, we've never faced this many deep balls in our lives. Like, they do take shots, whether it's 1-on-1, 7-on. Like, he goes, last year you knew they were going to run intermediate routes or they're going to try to throw, he said over the top, but he meant like jump balls, like they're going to just out-jump you. This crew, you better be ready to run like a track runner because they're going to be taking shots downfield, and they got a lot of guys that can do it. Doesn't mean they're doing it a lot so far, 4 days. I don't want to give the wrong impression that they're lighting up the scoreboard or lighting up the defense. But it's a receiving core that, well, I don't know. That was a lot of words to say. I still have no idea how good it's going to be.
Well, we know how good Azareye'h Thomas is going to be. He had an interception in the early team period on a deep ball. I guess just 2 things. His play, obviously, and then the fact of the matter that we should have got him at ACC kickoff. He did a great job in his post-practice interview on Sunday as well, and we probably deserved to have had him for a full day in Charlotte. Yeah. No offense to anybody else that was out there, but just Azareye'h is a true pro right now on the field, off the field.
Yeah, man, he's really good. That was a really nice play he made in that 11-on-11 against Hakeem. But then Hakeem came back and got him. Like that's the cool thing. Hakeem had a couple of 20-yard gains in 11-on-11 against Azareye'h, so that's cool that there's some back and forth there. But yeah, Azareye'h, even when he gives up completions, in every corner gives up completions, especially one-on-ones, they're never easy.
Nope.
Like Ja'Kai had a catch against him. Ja'Kai's an impossible cover in one-on-ones. I've mentioned this a million times. He's get the whole field to work with. He's that quick. And he's Azareye'h, who's much rangier and longer, has to try to cover this little jitterbug. And, man, he caught a pass against them for like 10 yards in one-on-ones, but Azareye'h's right there. He's always in their hip pockets. And it was cool to see him come down with that pass. Maybe not cool for DJ, but it was cool to see Azareye'h come down for that pass because he's been there really for 4 days. He's just – what he does for this wide receiver unit is invaluable, man. Like much like last year, how he had to grow because he was facing Keon and Johnny every day. Man, these guys got to get better or he embarrasses them. Like there was a receiver early on in one-on-ones that he just flat out dominated. Didn't even let it get off the line of scrimmage. Like he will embarrass you if you're not ready to compete. And what that does just for the receivers knowing, as Malik Benson said, I think after Friday's practice, he's like, he's like the guys I went up against last year at Alabama. You're not going to see anybody better than what you're seeing in practice every day. And so he basically compared Azareye'h to who was it, Kool-Aid and our guy from Tallahassee,
Terrion
right?
Arnold, yeah.
Yeah, and those guys Terrion was a first-round pick. I think Kool-Aid was a second-round pick. That is the guy's name, by the way, folks. I know it's not his Christian name, but that's what he's called. I can't remember his last. Is it McGillicuddy? McKinstry.
Yeah,
McKinstry. Right? Kool-Aid McKinstry. I could not remember.
His given name is Jaquincy. On his W-2, his NIL filings, Jaquincy.
How do you know that? What a weird piece of trivia for you to know that.
Well, I still keep my ears and eyes on the SEC. I hope we end up there someday. We're probably not though. But
how about that? That's great. So, but Malik Benson saying that I thought was not only true, but kind of eye-opening. Like, this is a guy that worked every day against 2 of the best in the country. And he said going up against Azareye'h is going up against, like, that. Like, that's what he's used to. That's what he's been used to in practice. And that's what Azareye'h and Ventrell, man. I don't think Ventrell is as good as Azareye'h, but he's pretty darn close. And he had an interception in one-on-ones against Malik Benson on Sunday. And he almost had another one in 11-on-11. It's like, that guy has been superb. I don't think he's maybe as physically gifted as Azareye'h. I don't think he's been quite as good as Azareye'h so far in camp, but it's really close, man. You get the impression that Florida State might have, I don't know, man, 2 of the top 5 cornerbacks in the ACC or on their team, maybe 2 of the top 2. Like, Fintrell Cypress has been very good. He's looked what I thought he was going to look like last year.
Yeah, well said.
And again, you know what I mean? Like, that makes it sound like he was a disappointment last year. He wasn't. He wasn't a flop. He started for a 13-0 football team. It's just that he wasn't a star. He wasn't special. He has been special so far through 4 days of fall camp. It was special in the spring. And again, overall point of all this stupid long diatribe is that it's so good for the wide receivers to get to face that kind of talent on the other side, because it's only going to make them better, or it's going to make them quit. But as Azareye'h Thomas said, alluding to what I said years ago, iron does sharpen iron.
He said it.
That's exactly what's happening right now, man. These receivers are getting a great test every day in practice, and if they can start routinely making catches and getting open against this secondary, that bodes very, very well for the upcoming season.
Let's go from one special talent that we know for sure about with Azareye'h to another one that could, we're going to need to wait for a few years, I think, to get the full yields out of it, man. But I didn't have, this whole early enrollee, late enrollee thing that we joke about when we're out at practice, Corey, about referring to these guys. When it comes to freshmen, I want Florida State to taste it. I want to bite from the apple. I want a true freshman to show up and start doing bonkers things day one and make an impact into the overall success of a football team. I don't know who's going to be that guy. I don't know if we'll ever really truly get that. But, man, Micaiah Danzy, I had no expectations for him, so maybe that's why I'm so high on him right now. I did not have a lot of expectations because smaller program, gets to campus late, quote-unquote late. Live your life, kids. Be a senior in high school. You're a senior year of high school. Go to prom. Do all that stuff. You don't need to be here in January if you got the skills. Man, he looks good. There might be a spot for him every now and then. Or am I being totally crazy right now because I had low expectations?
You're not being crazy. He has really stood out to me too, but I think what you said at the beginning is more accurate. Like, just for the future.
Yeah.
What his, because it's been a splash in my opinion. He has splashed onto the scene these first 4 days, and what that means for the future of this program. Because that guy, I think everything about him. I love the way he competes in special teams. When they're doing these gutter drills, he wins almost every rep, and he cares about it. And I think that says something I think that just says something about his competitive spirit, him as a teammate, the fact that he cares enough to try that hard. And I brought this up too. I'm not trying to kill the kid. They're freshmen. They're going to learn. Cam Davis has struggled, what I've seen the last 2 days, in pass blocking. They do these pass blocking drills against rushing linebackers, and you can tell Cam Davis hasn't had to do it a lot in his life. But neither is Micaiah Danzy. And Cam Davis, who is an enormous human being, he's got fire hydrants for arms, has gotten beaten pretty easily every time I've watched him. Micaiah Danzy Micaiah Danzy's, I don't know, man. I don't think he's benching 300. He ain't the strongest kid in the world. He's a track star, for crying out loud. He sticks his nose up in there in those blocking drills. And this is not a shot at Cam Davis. I'm not trying to make it a shot at Cam Davis. It's more like the relating it to Danzy and what I think that says about Danzy. And I don't think Cam Davis doesn't care. I just think he's not used to it at all. He's just not. He's not quick enough for some of these guys yet to react to a move. But he'll get there, and he's going to be, I'm sure, a very good blocker. He had a really nice run, by the way, in 11-on-11s on Sunday. Cam Davis did. But Micaiah Danzy sticks his nose in there, blocking these bigger guys. He's not great at it. It's not like he's Roger Craig. I was trying to think of a good Allstott. Who's a good blocking running back? He's not an incredible – there you go. Not an incredible blocking running back. But just the fact that he sticks his nose in there. In that drill, and he's not like, yeah, man, I'm a track star. I'm just supposed to have the ball out wide. I just think that says something about him, that he's trying to impress. He is impressing, and then when he gets the ball in a game-like situation, an 11-on-11, and he takes a swing pass, a screen pass, whatever you want to say it, and blitzes 50 yards past everyone, blazes past them. It's really that will play. Obviously, we know the speed is there, but I feel like the mindset is there, which is more. We know what he runs at 10.500. It's not a surprise that he can beat guys to the edge. and that's only going to get more pronounced as he gets bigger and stronger and faster while he's here. We know he can run, but can he play football? Yeah. And that's what I think I've seen these last couple of days is that dude is a football player that happens to run really fast. Not a track star on it with a football helmet on. He is a football player that can run really fast. And that's why I'm so excited about what he is going to be. That said, don't see him getting a ton of touches this year. Because where do they come from? Yeah. Who does he play in spite of,
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Otherwise, offensively, from Sunday, young guys, I guess this will be the freshman part of the program or whatever, and it might have made into Corey's observations that are posted on warchant.com. I'm not going to give all of it away for free, but you guys are here listening to us on Vitamin Energy and Corner Pocket, help fuel the fire over here on this side of things. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Jonathan Daniels and Manasseh Ititi. Again, these are guys that are not going to see the field, but just seeing, again, them being here so late in the game, if you will, and the way they're reacting to the coaching during practice where it's like, they're watching Darius go through, then it's their chance to go, and it's like, nope, wrong first step. And then Alex Atkins is outlining to them what they need to be doing, and then the very next rep they're doing is like, good. Just so to see those guys that were as big as they are, physically as touted as they were, as recruits, heralded, if you will, to see them kind of picking things up quickly, that's super cool to see. Otherwise, the offensive line's solid, man. I was thinking about it at a certain point on Sunday, Corey, looking at it, just how far this program has come, obviously, and I think so much of it is what has been, obviously, what Jordan Travis was at quarterback, but what they were able to establish on the line of scrimmage on the offensive defensive side of things. I mean, do you remember 2021, Mackenzie Milton being here and just him running for his life, seemingly on every single snap when it come to 11 on 11? Meanwhile, this defense is not conservative by any stretch. Man, they are ferocious, and they bring numbers every now and then. But this offense, like the offensive line stands up and meets the task most of the time. Now the defense does get home every here and there, but just to see the way the offensive line is holding up in these team drills, really encouraging, because I know we put a lot of expectation on them going to this season about they're going to be so much more improved that's going to help lift everything on the offensive side of the ball. Just good to see them kind of progressing the way they are. Whoever you folks thought were going to be the starting five guys, that's probably going to be those five guys, I would also say right now, the way things have been trending, Corey.
Okay, all right. I would agree with that. They're good. I think they're going to be good. I really do. I think Leonard has been a really nice addition.
Yeah.
I like that they have
whatever you guys were hoping Casey Roddick was going to be last year. I think Richie Leonard's going to be what you hoped Casey was going to be.
Yeah, probably. That's a good way to put it.
Not take a shot.
But that's a good way to put it. And Casey Roddick might be the president one day. I don't know where that guy is. I assume he's in a camp right now, I guess. But I could not have been more impressed with him as a human being. So we are definitely not taking shots at our man Roddick. No. 13-0, Casey Roddick.
That's true.
How many people in the history of didn't they go winless at Colorado one of the years he was there, or were they 1-11?
They might have gone 1-11. By the way, he's a grad assistant at Georgia State right now, currently. So he might be the head football coach here, like in 20 years.
I was hoping he'd get into it. I mean, we need his brains on something more important than football. But so he goes from 1-11 to 13-0. So we got nothing but love for Casey Roddick. But yeah, I think they're better up front. I think it's not addition by subtraction. I don't want to think like, they got rid of Roddick, finally they can play again. It's just I think Leonard is better. I think he's a little bit more physical. He's more athletic, and he's done 4 days in, full pad's not even on. Mm-hmm. But I think we like what this offensive line can be, and we love that they have some real experienced depth.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know that even Darius at left tackle. If you lose, I don't know that there's a spot on the offensive line where you'd be like, if that guy got hurt for an extended period of time, knock on wood, there goes the season, or there goes the offense, because they've got guys behind them that can really play and have played a lot of football. It's just good to see. But yes, the running game. I talked about it in the spring, even though they weren't in the pads a lot, and they certainly don't bring guys to the ground and tackle. And you see it now, even through 4 days, that I think the running game is going to be so much more improved. You almost wonder why Trey Benson, he should have stayed.
Unbelievable.
Well, what was he? I guess he was a second-round pick, so it worked out for him. But yeah, I think that the running game is going to be very, very It's not. I don't know if it'll be very, very good. It'll be much improved. And you're right. And I also think they do a pretty good job in pass pro. There's a lot of times where it feels like DJ has more time to throw than is normal.
Rounding out the observations over to the defense, I don't think it's really a surprise to anybody if they were to hear that Sione Lolahea is like the number 3 defensive end behind, Patrick and Marvin Jones Jr. So, but he's been coming on, I feel like, the last 2 days with Shells being on. Impressive to see how much, disruption he's able to create and cause, pressures, things of that nature. And then KJ Sampson, who, just as a true freshman, which we need to do like a time capsule where we just do first off-the-cuff impression of a true freshman, what we think they're going to end up being at Florida State, and then opening it up 3-4 years later and laughing at ourselves. But, man, I think KJ Sampson has without a doubt been the 3rd best defensive tackle. Now, it's a bit of a drop-off after you go from Josh Farmer and Darrell Jackson to the next guys in line, but I think it's clearly KJ Sampson and then Grady Kelly. So that's kind of caught me by surprise. And then Cam Riley's another guy that, it's like it's the Johnny Wilson corollary where it's like, all right, man, well, if you're blessed with those physical skills, how come you're here now? Like, why did not the previous school fight and claw to keep you there, and why were you not producing? But man, Cam Riley's going to be part of a solution probably to fixing whatever they need to replace at linebacker. Seemingly, man. I mean, he's come on. He knows where to be. I don't know. Maybe it's just him flashing during more run situations or something, Corey, but it feels like he's going to live up to the expectations that you would hope a 6'5", 240-pound linebacker that's played in the SEC for a lot of years would be able to bring to you.
Yeah, he had an impressive tackle for loss on Sunday. He moves well. We knew he was big. We can read numbers. And I don't know what he's listed at, but he's an enormous human being. I guess he's 6'4", maybe? Like 240. I mean, he is a big kid. And you watch him, and what I was the play that I was most impressed by yesterday, and it wasn't the tackle for loss. Sorry, Sunday wasn't the tackle for loss. Sunday was yesterday. There was a play where Jalen Lucas got the ball on the edge. I think it was a run, but I can't remember. It doesn't even matter. But he's trying to race to the edge to beat Cam Riley, and Cam Riley gets there before and pushes him out of bounds. Like that athleticism at that size. Now, obviously, he can't beat Jalen Lucas in a race. But he had the angle and he kept the angle. And just guys, I assume you've watched Jalen Lucas play football. That is not normal to have the angle. Even when you have the angle on Jalen Lucas, it doesn't typically matter. But he got over there in plenty of time. He's showing athleticism. He's done a nice job in the passing game so far through 4 days where he's not getting exploited. He gave up like a 20-yard catch or so to Morlock, by the way, having a very strong camp on Sunday, but he was in perfect position. Like he's right there running stride for stride with the kid, and Morlock just it's a perfect ball right over the outstretched arms of Riley where Morlock makes the catch. But man, it's Riley can play. I think, and not only that, I think Riley will play. Don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you. I think Riley's going to play.
Yeah. Otherwise, Aaron Hester still every single day seems to be doing like a little bit better, which is awesome to see. Who knows? But he might be like the number 4 defensive end. Byron Turner, watch your back. Although Byron Turner's been having a pretty decent camp as well, I would feel like. So we've talked about defensive backs with Azareye'h as well. So it's been solid. 4 days. We'll be back out there later today, this morning. So check out warchant.com probably around, I don't know, like 8:40-ish or so. Somebody will be camped out there, I'm guessing, filming these guys running up to practice, and we'll have the usual.
I'll be rolling in at 9:15 as normal.
Yeah, and then we'll have practice footage periods 1, 2, and 4, and then observations, interviews, do all this stuff over again.
I did want to say one thing that it struck me as we were watching practice on Sunday that it does kind of remind me of the last 2 years in a sense that you remember like Jordan was almost boring to watch in practice.
Yes.
Because he was just so dialed in and just so like, I'm going to take that open throw, I'm going to take that short throw, I'm going to take that open throw. And then Tate Rodemaker was just Billy the Kid, just a gunslinger maniac, throwing balls all over the place, always taking deep shots, always looking downfield, sometimes missing the easy throws. But you knew he was going to be throwing the ball deep. That's just in his makeup. That's who he is. I get the same kind of sense watching DJ and Brock Glenn. Like, Brock Glenn is just going to throw it a couple of times. DJ, so far anyway, has done DJ is going to throw it deep occasionally. We know that. He wasn't brought here to be a check down Charlie. But he's done, I think, a really good job through 4 days of taking those kind of throws, the easy throws. Not check downs necessarily, but he ain't just winging it 70 yards every play. It's like he's trying to get comfortable in the offense, and he's taking care of this stuff first. Open guy, throw it to him. Check down guy, get it to him. Get the completion percentage up. Not that you're really tracking that practice, but get the confidence up, get the comfortability with the offense up, and then that next part will grow where he's taking a lot more deep shots down the field. But for now, it seems like he's taking a lot of intermediate and kind of safer type throws, which I think is a good thing. That's why he's only probably turned it over twice. But then our man Brock Glenn comes in, and he is winging it, which I love too.
Yeah.
Like, I love that aspect of it. Like, I get more excited now when Brock Glenn comes in just because I know there's going to be some action here.
Right.
There's going to be some action. He is going to take some shots. I thought he made a really nice throw to Portier in 11-on-11 that Jabril Rawls, I think, just kind of raked out right at the end. Or that's going to be that might be a 70-yard touchdown. Really good throw. I'd like Portier to hold on to it, but I do think it was a PBU. But do you get that sense too? Like, DJ's not throwing, and we know it's in the bag. We know it's there. We know it's coming. But I thought DJ would be more like Tate as far as just throwing a lot of deep balls up for grabs, deep shots every time I'm out there. And no, man, he's kind of Jordan Travis-esque. Just kind of keep the chains moving, make the right throw, make the right read, and his backup can take all those crazy shots.
It's weird because the first time most of us saw him play might have been like that Notre Dame game, the COVID year where Trevor Lawrence was out and he had to kind of come in there and played great. They didn't win the game, but like he, lit it up. But I think by and large, like he was asked to kind of play within himself, like play within whatever Dabo's offense was going to look like because they had so much faith in their defense that, I know he's got a big arm. I know he's all those sort of skills, but I never took him for just taking wild shots and just being kind of reckless with the football. Just for whatever reason, the way they played like a more plotting kind of style, Clemson, was, if you missed the first down throw and then the second down run to Shipley didn't generate you enough yards, like there was just too much pressure put on DJ to have to try to convert 3rd and 7, and that's when you're getting off the field and then, things kind of go sideways or what have you. But it's been kind of refreshing, reassuring to see him play within himself, like play within what Norvell has kind of laid out for him, because I think they probably have the same kind of feel. I think they have a lot of faith in this defense, and it's going to kind of be one of those things where they know the running game is going to be able to wear teams down late in games, but it's like let's play aggressive, but let's play smart, and let's get early points, and let's put pressure on the opposing offense to take their chances, and we'll be able to stop them and get negative plays. That's going to make this team successful this year. But yeah, it's been refreshing, man, to see him go out there and kind of play a clean brand of football, because if he does, they're going to win games.
But it's almost boring, but in a good way. The boring, not like they're punting every fourth play. It's just like, yep, there was the open guy. He read it. He saw it. He got it to him. Next play, he gets his 3 plays. Then Glenn comes in. Then Cromanhawk comes in, and they keep recycling it. And it's just, again, I can't stress this enough. This is not an insult, because I watched Jordan Travis practice. Well, I didn't watch much of the 2021 season practice, let's be honest. But the last 2 years, I was at almost every practice. And there were times where it was extremely boring, but in an awesome way. Yeah. You knew he wasn't going to throw a crazy jump. You know he wasn't going to throw an interception. He wasn't throwing it 90 yards downfield every play. He was churning out first downs. And that's what I've seen. That's what I've been struck by with DJ so far. It's boring in the most positive way I can mean that. It's just he's doing exactly what you want a 5th-year veteran quarterback to do and look like. As he still continues to try to find a rhythm with these new guys that he hadn't played much with, because there's still some miscommunication. There's still some blips as they get more and more comfortable with each other. But I have through 4 days, he's been impressively confident and
impressively boring.
Well, sure, but just impressively solid.
Yeah.
Just been solid, man. Yeah. He's been a solid quarterback.
Would you say Corner Pocket Bar and Grill's consistency in their food makes them boring in some regards, Corey, where you know what you're going to get. You're going to get friendly faces. You're going to get cold drinks. You're going to get tasty wings, tasty meals. Would that be a parallel to draw between the effectiveness of DJ Uiagalelei and the good times that will be had by people that go to Corner Pocket Bar and Grill?
Sure, because a lot of people go to restaurants when there's like a wild card. Like, this could be awful. My food could still be moving, or it might be great. Corner Pocket, you know it's going to be good to great all the time. Yeah. And, I mean, it depends on your – like, maybe their sweet potato curly fries are always great, but I don't like sweet potato curly fries, so I can't judge those. But everything I have is always good. And you're right, that's a good way to put it, Aslan. It is boring in how good it is, but there's something about that. The beauty is there's 50 different things on the menu.
There is.
So you get to enjoy all that great boring food.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, cptallybar.com if you want to check out the website beforehand, 2475 Appalachia Parkway if you want to put in your phone as you're leaving the office on your lunch break. Lunch specials.
And I'm there a lot, Aslan. So let me ask you this. Is that boring?
Absolutely not.
If Corey Clark is rolling in, does he go to boring places? No chance. It's fun to know that your food is always going to be good.
The read is over now, everybody. More show coming up. The rest of the Renegade Express mailbag after this. Usually I like to lay out, how we're going to go through the rest of these questions, but there's no common theme, so we're just going to go in chronological order. The Walking Nolo 1, Corey Aslan, what's happening? Pump, the fall camp's upon us. Work days go by easier when I've got a podcast each day of the week. Question for this week. Last year you killed it between Corey singing Seminole Wind and running down Snuggy Hill into the wrap-up video and, of course, a champagne bathroom a few years back. Funny content galore. What are some things that can be done this year to hopefully celebrate our last stops at ACC schools? Remember, away games are Georgia Tech and Dublin, Dallas, SMU, Miami, and Notre Dame. Of course, it doesn't have to be an away game. Just a thought. Thanks.
You got any ideas, Aslan?
What if you just downed a box of Lucky Charms in Aviva Stadium, or did the Ezekiel Elliott and just started going crazy on a bowl of those?
What if I had a bowl of Lucky Charms, but instead of using milk, I use Guinness?
Okay, there we go.
And ate a bowl of Lucky Charms with Guinness in it. Oh, that's how disgusting would that be?
That's something.
Yikes!
I think you
shouldn't
just
have said that.
Yep. Sorry about that. SMU. I think we just get a cowboy hat on you. That's game over. I think game over. Cowboy hat. That's all we need from that.
Could we do a cowboy hat with like a wraparound mic so I can look like Garth Brooks? I can have the Garth Brooks mic. That would be awesome. I'd have a black like cowboy duster trench coat type thing.
Okay, yeah.
With a black hat and my mic coming around my ear.
What about the Chris Gaines era? Can we go for more of a Chris Gaines aesthetic?
That's the thing, Aslan. Everybody gave Chris Gaines too much grief. I'm Chris Gaines' biggest fan. Actually, do you remember when Garth Brooks hosted SNL? And Chris Gaines was the musical guest?
No, that's amazing, though.
Yeah, that was peak 90s. Either that is peak 90s or when the lead singer of the Counting Crows dated Courtney Cox and Jennifer Aniston in the span of like 18 months. Like two of the stars of Friends were dating the lead singer of Counting Crows. Like, has there ever been a more 90s sentence than that?
No. Adam Durowitz, I think his name is.
Duritz, yeah, Adam Duritz.
How did he pull that off? Unbelievable.
I mean,
kids play an instrument, kids.
Yes,
learn how to sing, kids.
And try to look like a sensitive poet type, but be really famous. And then who knows what comes your way.
I think you could maybe even do the Lucky Charms against Notre Dame too, Corey.
I think that's actually more fitting, quite honestly.
Okay.
Do they even have Lucky Charms in Ireland?
We can bring them. I'm sure we can go to the Tesco.
Well, I guess we could pack them, yeah.
Whatever. And then Miami, I don't know. We can just, you and I can just sit in the stands and just joke about. There's as many people here in the stands now at 1 a.m. as there were at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
That watched Florida State dismantle Miami. So
I could find a turnover chain somewhere, maybe. These are all predicated on them winning the game, right?
Correct, obviously.
Okay, we're not going to make jokes and have fun if Florida State loses. Nobody's in that kind of mood if they lose.
All right, let's not joke. Serious one. Jamaica Nole. Wake up. Can't wait to see all the Warchant gang again. All my favorite Noles as well in Ireland. Corey brought up how 2022 playoff run was going on, but in this new format, they could have won a championship. but then brought up how an 8-3, 24 Florida State team going into the Florida game might want to sit some starters and focus on winning the conference championship game to make the playoffs. My question is, would you actually want to sacrifice a rivalry win and possibly wash away some recruiting grounds in this state versus risking going to a playoff? I will admit a chance at a championship as well. With a 3-loss team that would have to win the next 3 anyways and possibly an early playoff exit with no win over your state rival. Could be a lose-lose. True Sophie's choice, some might say. Just trying to power some discussion. See y'all across the pond. Go Noles.
Oh, nice. That's a good question. And look, I don't want people to think I'm saying like, oh, this game means nothing. I don't foresee it feeling like one of those Week 18 NFL games where, just pick a team, man. I don't know. The Chiefs have already wrapped up home field throughout the playoffs, so they play their starters like one series and they're done. I don't think they'll do that. These teams, like Florida State, would do that against Florida if the game didn't matter. I'm more talking, I still think anybody that can play will play. But if a guy, like Fabian Lovett last year, he wouldn't play in a game like that because he was kind of banged up all year, right? Maybe Keon even sits that game out because you're trying to get him ready for the games that really matter. And that's what I foresee happening, not just resting your starters, although I guess that could technically happen, because I do think rivalries will still matter. I don't know if it's for recruiting as much as just for your fans and, season ticket holders. Like, how do you explain that to them? But I do see that, like, if it's iffy, if a guy's probable or questionable, well, that questionable becomes doubtful. If it's a game that doesn't really matter because you've already lost 3 times, and the only way you're getting into the playoff is to win next week in Charlotte. So, I do think that is something that will happen all over the country as we come to the realization of this new world we're in. That guys that are questionable will be held out if the game they're playing doesn't really have any impact on their postseason chances.
Yeah, no, man, you said it. It's one thing when it's the NFL teams where it's just everybody's shut down. I mean, they practically shut down everybody in Week 18 or whatever, and they just roll out the backups. I don't know if you'll ever truly see that if you have an end-of-year rivalry game. But I do wonder, like, what would be a more palatable situation? Like, if you're Florida State and you're 11-0, and Florida is 4-7. So, like, they're not even going to make a bowl game if they beat you. You're 11-0. Man, like, you need to make sure you're totally good for Clemson. 2 of your guards sprained their ankles and pulled a hamstring in the last 2 weeks. One of your guys had a concussion. Like, do you want to rush him back on the defensive side of the ball? Like, is that more likely to sit guys? Or, like, if you're 8-3, but you've already clinched making to the ACC championship game. It's like, you're going to have to win that conference championship game to make it into the playoff. But if you're 11-0 and you go 11-1 and then you win the conference championship game, like, you're going to have the bye as well on top of it because you're going to be one of the 5 highest ranked conference champions. So it's like this whole there's I don't know. I feel like what I just basically said there's too many variables to really know how it's going to work out until it actually we're there.
It's going to be fascinating. But don't you think it's going to be fascinating to watch it play out over the course of the next few years, like how these coaches handle this? Because there will be plenty of there's a chance that Alabama has already locked up a spot in the SEC championship game. They're 10-1, and if you're 10-1 in the SEC, you're going to the playoff no matter how your last 2 games go. So there is a chance if they're, it's like, okay, this guy needs some time off. Normally, you would do everything to play Auburn. Like, you want to win the Auburn game. But now it's like, nah, man, whether you beat Auburn or lose to Auburn, you've got like 4 games after that. They all matter more now in the current context of college football. If Florida State goes on a run in the postseason, those 4 games that they play after Florida, I mean, it's crazy to say this, they all matter more than the Florida game. They're all bigger than the Florida game. So that's the new reality that we live in, and it's going to be really interesting, I think, once you get to 105 scholarships. Because then you got a lot more bodies, good bodies, that you can throw at you can say, okay, I'm resting most of my starters. Well, you still got 80 other guys you can play and get them valuable experience in a game that doesn't matter at all. Now, the flip side of that is you'd hate to lose to Florida then go ahead and lose the next week anyway. And it's like, well, what'd you throw that game for? Now they get to feel great for 365 days, and you didn't even take advantage and win the next game anyway? Well, that was pointless. So all of it's going to be really fascinating to watch. I'm genuinely curious how these coaches handle this moving forward. Because college football isn't pro football. And fan bases, I'm a Falcons fan. I don't care if they sit their guys and lose to the Saints in the final game of the season. But I feel like if I'm a Florida State fan, I'd be more than a little perturbed if they sat guys against effing Florida. But that might be the reality that these coaches are facing. By the way, we haven't even talked about the new scholarship limits.
Is it for sure happening, the 105?
Yes. The 105 is definitely happening.
Is that scholarships or is that just roster?
It's scholarships.
Period? Right,
it's full. I mean, you don't have to use all 105 scholarships, but each Division I program is going to be allowed 105 football scholarships, and crazily, 34 full baseball scholarships.
What?
Which is going to change the sport.
Oh, geez.
I've already texted Brady about it. It's crazy because I've told Brady's all the parents of Brady's teammates over the last 5 years, and I see them all spending this crazy money, and I say all of them. I've done it too. I'm not chasing a scholarship. I just I'm an idiot for my son's baseball. But I've told all of them, like, look, you understand. Because they've said, I've had multiple people say, well, I feel like it'll all be worth it if he gets a full scholarship. And I'm like, well, let me stop you right there. Because those don't exist in baseball. Yeah. And I've explained this to literally dozens of parents. Like, look, because they know what I do for a living. I'm like, a baseball team at Florida State has 33 to 35 roster spots typically. They have 11.7 scholarships to dole out over those 35. So one guy will get 20%, another guy will get 40%, another guy gets 60, another guy gets 10. Like, it all adds up to 11.7, but there are no full scholarships in baseball. And now the NCAA and Congress just made me look like a complete liar because everybody in Brady's generation can get a full scholarship, a full Division I scholarship, which is going to be really interesting to see if they're all funded and what that's going to do to the sport. But yeah, 34 full baseball scholarships now when it's been 11.7 forever.
I did see the Mark Stoops thinks that the revenue sharing is not going to affect NIL stuff at all, which I kind of agree with. I mean, that's like the thing that they've sold us on. Like, all right, once they do revenue sharing and then all the players are getting a good amount of money from the TV revenue, NIL and collectives is going to kind of slowly fizzle away. And it's like, why would it? It's the baseline has always been you get a full scholarship. Now the baseline is going to be you get a full scholarship and you're going to get $200,000. Okay, but there's the booster guy that still wants to win more than anything. And he's going to give $100,000 to a player if he wants. Like that guy's not going to change his attitude. So they sold us a fake bill of goods, but here we are.
It'll be. I wonder about that when it comes to policing it. Because there is an
what's
I guess it's in that
600. If you get an NIL deal of more than $600, you have to report it, and it's got to get vetted.
It has by something. A clearinghouse, and it's got to be a legitimate business sponsorship opportunity. I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but who's policing it? Yeah. Who's policing it? And then what? What if we wanted to pay Travis Hunter for his senior year? Warchant, I'm talking about warchant.com, wants to give him $2.6 million to come play football at Florida State. Is that legitimate? Does that count? Who decides? Who's the commissioner? Who's the police chief? Yeah. All of that stuff is going to be yes, I think NIL will still be a part of it. Maybe it dies down a little but it's not going to be because each player is going to get whatever, a stipend or $100,000 or $80,000 or $200,000, whatever it is. It's going to be because there's real enforcement behind your policies. But if there's not real enforcement, then who cares what the rule is?
Right.
It's been pay for play now for 2 years, and that's not what it was supposed to be. But who policed it? Who cared? Who's calling the shots and telling people not to do it? Nobody.
That's what I want to see. I want to see this clearinghouse. All right, player X is getting $350,000 a year from this collective to go to 2 autograph signings a year. Like, absolutely not. That equals out to 8 hours of work for the year, and they're getting that much money. I'd be like, they're gonna have to figure out what the value of a player is, and then prorate that out to an hourly rate or like a daily rate like a per diem and like, all right, this is what's going to be an acceptable sort of standard, which actually maybe that'll be a good thing. Maybe that will be the thing that reigns in NIL. Like there's no way that you can justify your business expense of being six figures for a guy that's going to, I know he's playing football and winning you football games, but that's not what you're paying him for. You're paying for his name, image, and likeness. His name, image, and likeness is not worth $500, like $47,000 and $325 an hour. Like that's just not. Yeah. There's nobody that gets paid that. Maybe Jeff Bezos, but anyhow. This one I think is more rhetorical than anything, but there's a lot of words. Let me start reading all of it. Armchair Osceola. Wake up. Welcome back, gentlemen. Hearing your voice to report on actual football means our days of unbridled humidity are numbered. Recently, went and did some hiking, traveled in Spain, met an older Australian Army veteran on a 30-day trek over the Pyrenees Mountains. As we imbibed ourselves late into the evening on alcoholic beverages at a mountain refuge, we began discussing AFL, Australian rules football, and how it was culturally different than American football. Unbeknownst to me, Australian rules football players are required / highly encouraged to have a career outside of the league. League owners value integrity. They want their team members to be integrated into the community as well as having salary caps. Apparently, the AFL has made a conscious decision to optimize this for product quality and integrity over a mad cash grab. As the conversation turned to college football, he asked me a few questions. Why is there not a hard cap on what NIL pays players? Why don't universities just set a limit on what they're going to pay a head coach? Not like they can earn $5 million a year selling life insurance. Why does our sport place so much emphasis on getting the very best athletes instead of those representing universities' best as people? Often overlap here, but we know what matters. And would these media conference executives really destroy the integrity of such a great sport simply so they could wring out a few extra bucks in profits? At this, I laughed and told him, you have no idea what craven lunatics we are. Feel free to opine. We all know what we're up against. Anyways, I highly recommend Mallorca, but probably the east side of the island for maximum relaxation and enjoyment. Welcome back, Go Noles.
All right, man. That sounds like a fun trip.
Yeah. Yeah, Mallorca, baby. Let's do it.
And also, like, Australians, man. I feel like, I don't know why, I just feel like I could I don't know if thrive is the right word, but I could survive and love life in Australia.
As an expat.
Maybe not the Outback. Yeah.
All right.
Right? They
Short
just
list.
seem like good people for the most part. They seem like nice people, welcoming. I know they got the prisoner background, the ethos that's always surrounding them because that was an island of prisoners back in the day. But, yeah, man, they seem like jovial, good-natured people for the most part.
We got Ayers Rock, mate. Big rock.
I did all that just so I could hear that accent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Null for Life, class of 2007. Did we already talk about this one? We already talked about the one, the coach getting fired. All right, so only got one more.
We didn't even address that. Well, I will say, yes,
listen,
we
everything you would watch in American sports, if you're from Europe, you'd be like, what the hell are they doing? Whether it's Red Panda on a unicycle at halftime of an NBA game or the Texas A&M yell leaders. Like, I don't know how you explain any of this. Of just like, we're just craven lunatics about this sort of stuff. The way you guys like your footy is the way we like our American football.
But obviously the point that people have listened to this show for a while understand that I totally agree with, is the coaching salaries are ridiculous and out of control. You can't limit what people can make. That's not what capitalism is. So putting a limit on NIL doesn't seem all that fair because I don't know that Nick Saban had a limit on his Geico commercials. So why would a 20-year-old have a limit on it? You know, if people are willing to pay you, that's what you're worth. At the same time, it is gross and it's hard to keep track of right now. Hopefully there'll be some, gross isn't the right word, but there'll be some guidelines, involved as we move forward with NIL. So it really is guys that deserve that money that get it.
What about a coaching cap? Like, that's legal. Like,
I'm all about it, man.
I'm saying, like, a salary cap is legal. Like, there should be a certain amount of money you can spend on your coaching staff. So you can't say that a head coach can only make this. We can't say that a CEO of a company can only make this amount of money. But you can only have a certain amount of your, there's only like a certain amount of money that your shareholders will feel comfortable going to CEO compensation. So just make it like a coaching cap, maybe, to where, like, you have to include all your coordinators, all your assistant coaches, and your head coach, and you just have to figure out how you want to configure that to maximize what you think is the best kind of mix. But you're still going to be a huge number. It's still going to be a huge number.
Correct.
Which I don't get as bothered by, and I know Corey gets bothered by the amount of money these coaches make. These coaches, by and large, have struggled for several years of their lives as GAs, and quality control assistants making nothing when they were like grown men. Now we're talking about like 19-year-old kids. Well, they don't have a lot. Well, man, not a lot of people have a lot when they're 19. Most people don't have anything when they're 19 years old. They've got a full scholarship. They've got shelter. They've got delicious food. They've got clothing, anything they could want, all the shoes they could want. They also have a lot of notoriety. That's by and large a positive thing rather than a negative thing, where they can walk in any club, any bar. They're the coolest guy in the entire place. They get things paid for. They get a lot of perks, if you will. They've got all this sort of stuff. So, like, that's why I push back when people are like, this is ridiculous how much a coach makes. Well, man, that guy bet on himself and moved his wife and kids around for 6 years, living in Pueblo, New Mexico or something at a community college, and then going to Tulsa for a few years. Like, all right, man, you paid dues. You're 19. Pay some dues. That's all I want.
Okay.
That's all I want. Just pay some dues. And they were paying dues for 89 years in this college football landscape, but no longer. No longer.
Well, nope, and I feel like we, again, this has been beaten to death. What I would say when it comes to the coaching contracts is they're horrible contracts. That's
the
university,
point.
Like, correct. Yeah. They're ridiculous. There's no buyout clauses. They get to go at the drop of the hat. You're supposed to, like, hey, my contract's up in 5 years. I need an extension. I'm trying to recruit this 7th grader. He needs to know I'll be here. Give me another $50 million. Like, they're so one-sided, those contracts. That's the biggest issue with and I feel like it's just college football coaches, or college coaches, I guess, maybe basketball coaches too. They get the most one-sided contracts on earth.
Yeah.
On earth. It's crazy. But whatever. Genie's out of the bottle.
Last one, speaking of beating dead horses. Good morning, Aslan and Corey. Based on what you've seen in the spring, _John writes, and now into fall camp, how worried are you that FSU is going to struggle to win games this year? Do you feel Florida State's finally built to cruise to victories, or is Florida State going to be biting their nails every game, the fans of the program? More importantly, what are your thoughts on how they will fare against Georgia Tech in the opener? Is Florida State ready to beat a school that is not nearly as invested in football, or does Florida State fans need to worry about another afterthought in the ACC? What makes you feel the way you do? They're not gonna win by 4 touchdowns against anybody in the conference. I just don't think they are. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's like, well, that's a lousy place to be. We can't just cruise every single weekend. I just don't think it's going to happen. But we've mentioned this a few times. I don't know if there's anything you want to add on that, Corey, about are you worried that Florida State's going to struggle to win games this year? Do you feel they're finally built to cruise to victories, or are we going to be biting our nails every game?
Yeah, I mean, I foresee most of the games being fourth quarter games, like games. So I guess if you bite your nails, you probably will be biting these. But, again, they kind of were last year. So, save for Wake and like Syracuse, and I know they ended up beating Virginia Tech by 3 touchdowns, but that was 22-17 in the third quarter. You gave up a 17-0 run in that game. I would say Virginia Tech scored 17 unanswered, but then Florida State answered with the final 17, so I guess they didn't. But I think that you have to go into this season understanding you're going to be in close games in the fourth quarter. Almost all of them, right? Like, there'll be an outlier, there'll be an anomaly. You might lose to a team you shouldn't lose to. You might blow out a team that should have been a closer game. But by and large, when you look at that schedule, man, North Carolina's not a joke. At Duke on Friday night, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the one you can think, okay, where you're going to win that game comfortably. Memphis isn't a joke. At SMU ain't a joke. Clemson at home. Notre Dame on the road. Georgia Tech in Ireland. Like, none of these games are just gimmies, which is good and bad. It's they're going to be battle tested for sure, but also you might lose a couple battles because you're going to if you're in 10 close games that could go either way in the final 5 minutes, well, even if you're lucky, you might go 8-2, right? Just the pure if you win 80% of your close games, like one-score games, then you've been kind of lucky, or you've done well when it mattered most. You've performed well when it mattered most. But winning 80% of those games is a huge number, I think. I haven't done any research, but it feels like if you play 10 one-score games and you win 80% of them, that's a really successful number. But that still means you lost 2. So you know what I mean? I just think that's what this season is going to be. It's going to be some fourth quarter games, a lot of them. And how do you play those moments? Is the defense able to dominate when it matters? Can the offense make enough plays? Is this running game going to be so good that you do see games like you saw in 22 when you beat the bejesus out of Syracuse and you rolled over Miami in back-to-back weeks? Is that what we're going to see from this offense and this offensive line? That all remains to be seen.
Looking at the last two national champions, Georgia in 22 hammered South Carolina by 41 points, hammered Auburn by 32 points, Vandy by 55, Florida by 22, Mississippi State by 26. But, they beat Kentucky 16-6. They had a 26-22 game against Missouri. They won their semifinal game by 1 point. I mean, these things do still happen where you are blowing out teams. Michigan, first half of the year in their Big Ten schedule, they beat Nebraska 45-7, beat Minnesota 52-10, beat Indiana 52-7, shut out Michigan State 49-0, Purdue 41-13. But then everything else was nip and tuck after that, pretty much, other than the Big Ten championship game.
And
so
that was a national championship. That was a national championship team that had, 14 guys drafted off it. Like, that was a very, very good football team.
Right.
Clearly, but also those are the national champions. I don't think you and I sitting here today in late July, think that we watched the national championship team practice the last 4 days.
Right.
But I think we've watched a top 15 type team practice, top 10 team type team practice, and look at all those top 10 teams. That's hard to say over the last 2 or 3 years. I guarantee you they're in one-score games 60% of the time, 75%. I wouldn't even know what number to put at it. They're just that's where we are now, man. It's getting closer to the NFL, where come 4 o'clock. Well, let's say 3:30. On a Sunday afternoon, there'll be 8 NFL games going on, and 6 or 7 of them will be one-score games. Right. You just know that's the reality, and so going into this season, you're going to be playing some close games.
I think they should beat Boston College comfortably. They should beat Cal comfortably. They should beat Duke comfortably. I think they'll beat North Carolina comfortably. And then obviously you've got Charleston Southern. And I know Florida game is going to be a rivalry game, but that might be a game that you feel comfortable most of the second half. So, I rattled off like 5 games, so I guess, there's a bit of that mixture, that magic in there. But yeah, man, like Memphis game might be comfortable, but Memphis game could also be a dogfight. SMU game, probably dogfight-ish. Miami game, probably going to be close. Clemson game, probably going to be close. So, there's some of that mix in there as well. I don't think any team, I guess, the larger point is no team does what 2013 Florida State did. Or, I think LSU might have struggled with Auburn in 2019.
Yeah, in 19, but that was it.
Yeah. Those happen every 6 years. I don't.
Well, that's not true. They beat Alabama like 45-42.
But yeah, that was
the game.
That game, but they were in control of that one. Alabama might have outscored them like 21-7 or something in the fourth quarter when the game was pretty much in hand. Right. But I know what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think that. So what I've seen through 4 days, and it's 4 days. We've got 3 more weeks of this. It looks to me like a team that is going to be strong on the line of scrimmage. We didn't mention Tomiwa Durajai, who I thought stood out again on Sunday, and I think he's going to play a good bit. I like what I'm starting to see out of him. But we mentioned Lolahea. Obviously, you know what you got in the defensive ends. You know what you got in those starting DTs. And I think the offensive line is going to be better. If you've got a good line of scrimmage, like right there I might have named, if you count the 5 starting offensive linemen, I don't know, man, is that 7 NFL players? 8? 12? 4? I literally have no idea. Like, if you've got an NFL line of scrimmage, guys that are going to be playing in the league next year, and I think you do, maybe not all of them, but a majority of these guys are going to be draft picks, I think, and playing in the league, you're going to be a good team. But even if you have a great record, you are not going to be blowing everybody out. And I certainly haven't seen anything through 4 days to look at this team and go, yeah, they're going to be the number 1 team in the country, and they're going to beat everybody by 35 points. It's just I wouldn't know what that. I wouldn't even know what that looked like anyway.
And no need to apologize for that either.
Yeah.
By the way, 2019, it was 46-41. LSU beat Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium. LSU was up 33-13 at halftime.
Okay, all right.
That's what they did. That's what that team
That was that. Yeah, I guess their only blip offensively that whole season was the Auburn game, right? And I
Right.
think even then they scored 28, maybe
23, 23-20.
23. So that's it. But that was their worst game offensively. That was a very good football team. How about LSU getting 2 Heisman transfers at quarterback?
Unbelievable. You know, I'm relatively sure if Adam Smith, the father of economics, was with us today, he would be a fan of Manscaped. Smith, as you all remember, argued things like the invisible hand and, more importantly, specialization, saying that companies are going to grow, hires are going to be made, and they should have defined roles and specialize in one skill. So yeah, you've got some clippers, but they have a role. Manscaped has a more specialized place in a man's grooming arsenal. Some might say a more delicate role, one involving the moneymaker, to bring it back to Adam Smith and economics. How about the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra? It features skin-safe blades and a cordless design, which is kind of clutch. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code WARCHANT at manscaped.com. 20% discount, free shipping. Manscaped.com. Be him and trim. Michael Langston talking recruiting right after this. Hey, everybody wants to know about recruiting. You really have to pay for this stuff, in my opinion. But Michael Langston's like, hey, man, I think I want to talk to the people and let them know what's going on. So Michael Langston's here to talk about it, everybody. Saturday was a day off for some of us in the game. Mike, you, not for Mike Norvell and his coaching staff. What was going down this weekend?
Yeah, big Seminole Showcase. That's their last event, Aslan. And even before that, on Friday, Usman Chroma visited FSU. That was a big visit. I heard it was probably the best visit he's taken to FSU. I think the momentum is with FSU, so that's certainly one that to watch. Georgia and Auburn are the main competition, and it's still a battle, but certainly FSU did well there. And then Saturday, it was mostly about, some 2026 targets, from your area. Tristan Keys from the Mississippi area. He's a guy that came over, really impressive when I watched him. Really had some really positive things to say about FSU. I think FSU is really high up there. Another one is Preston Ashley, a talented 4-star defensive back from Mississippi as well. Now, the key thing about him that's interesting is he's related to Rock Preston, who played at FSU. So there's a lot of good ties to FSU. Also had some really strong things to say about the Noles after the Seminole Showcase. And then it was also a chance, Aslan, for me to watch Tramel Jones and Brady Smigel work out together at the event. That was a lot of fun. Tramel was probably the best I've seen him. And then Brady has an incredibly strong arm, probably right up there as far as what I saw from Luke Kromahaka out of high school. He reminds me a lot of him when I watch his game. Can really push it down the field. So he was really impressive. And the guy that stole the show was a new FSU commit, or I shouldn't say new anymore, but a surprising FSU commit in CJ Wiley, 4-star wide receiver. He put on a show. He was absolutely unbelievable. Just really, he reminds me a lot of what I watch. He's got some things that similar to what I saw out of Keon, coming out of either high school and when he was at Michigan State and then later Florida State. High points the ball really well. Routes are really clean and smooth, and he's going to be a fun one to watch. So certainly those guys really, just jumped out to me from this event. Very strong, very strong DB group as far as throughout the weekend. Caden Hall, 4-star DB, was another one that really jumped out to me, and just overall very strong weekend for FSU. And then the big news for Sunday was 5-star offensive lineman Josh Petty is on campus still as we do this. That's one where it's an FSU Georgia Tech battle, I feel. And I still like kind of where I have FSU in that recruitment, which is number one. Even though Georgia Tech is right there, they're making a push. Certainly academics is a big deal to him. So that's a good push for Georgia Tech, and they've done a great job recruiting him, but I still like where FSU sits there.
Where did Georgia Tech come from? I mean, obviously, I should admit this stuff, I guess, but I'm not all that dialed into what's going on right now with recruiting. I mean, But I thought with Petty be some of the bigger hitters out there. Georgia Tech, to me, that's a bit of a surprising development. I know he's from Georgia, but and Brent Key's a offensive line coach by trade, but Georgia Tech,
Right.
not maybe the same caliber as other teams on the screen, Florida State, Tennessee, Ohio State.
They've been kind of in the background, and then really started to push, the last 2 months, and then certainly got him on campus. But the surge we didn't hear with Georgia Tech was not until probably, a couple weeks ago. And then they just, Keys just stayed on it and they kept pushing, and academics, and obviously his sister's going to be going to FSU. So if you went to Georgia Tech, it's not like a long ways away. So I think that's a benefit, but mainly the academics and just the relationship he developed with Coach Keys certainly has pushed them very much in the picture. But the big development of him being at FSU today, watched them practice on Sunday morning, I think is a big deal. And I still like where FSU sits, and that's a massive recruitment for FSU to finish that off, and so they have a chance to do that. And then you have some big decisions coming up, Aslan. I think both 4-star running back Byron Lewis and Usman Chromo, I think, are going to decide in probably in the month of August. So I think FSU could have their dynamic duo. And so far, I kind of like where things are at with FSU, with both of those kids. So you have that, and then Petty is expected to announce in August as well. So several decisions coming up. Bryce Fitzgerald, a 4-star DB, is another one that I think I'm targeting to see if FSU can pull that off. You have Ladarian Clardy, who I think I lean towards Ole Miss, but that's one that they're still keeping an eye on. So still got some big summer decisions coming up. That's kind of the wrap up as far as the showcase. People can go on the PRB, did a breakdown of all the top camp performers, and we'll have a lot more coming on the site as far as at that event. I think Matt got up with a lot of top guys, so we'll have a lot more on Warchant later today or later this weekend.
You've been out obviously at these things all the time, Michael. Is there any kind of different feel when it comes to Seminole Showcase now, coming off 2 successful seasons versus last year, the year before, things of that nature?
The viewpoint is a lot different. I think Trammell and Solomon had some of the best quotes of when they taught the guys. They're kind of like, yeah, there's no place like FSU. The vibe feels different there. They're a top 5 team now. And Trammell said, then you should be going there. Why are you considering anywhere else? So the vibe's a lot different of just the way recruits and their families view FSU in that top 5 range of, after the last 2 seasons. Obviously, consistency will be the thing that you have to keep doing, but you definitely get a different sense of how they view FSU. It's no longer like, hey, I like their culture, relationships. It's like, this is a top 5 program in the country. And you see that with some of the recruits that they've either gotten or still on that they could flip later this year. I think it's just recruits and their families view FSU in a different light, and certainly they have to keep it up of what they do on the field. But overall, yeah, there's definitely a different feel.
Just want to double back to this real quick, Michael.
Say that again.
Lewis and Chroma, Usman Chromo, dynamic duo. So they're both takes for this staff.
Yes, they are. Yes, they were both takes. Those are the main guys they're focused on. They're not really recruiting anybody else. Like, they've made it clear, like, these are our guys. We want them both. And from what I get, the feelings from both of them, they know that. They know, and they're good with it. They're good with, like, hey, we got this guy, on the side, and they're not bothered by the competition. So they both are very understanding, clear about, what the plan is for FSU to get both of these kids. So that's definitely something that's kind of shifted a little bit what I thought, because I originally thought FSU would get one and then the other would kind of turn it off. But actually it's the opposite, where it's actually helped them, where you got another talented guy around you. You can be fresh all the time when you play. It's going to push you. And I think both of the guys have kind of accepted that and certainly like the fact that, they could potentially be together in this backfield. So I think overall it's not as big of a concern as I originally thought.
They currently sit 8th right now in the On3 team rankings, Florida State. They got 1 5-star, Solomon Thomas. They got 10 4 stars and 2 3-stars, Michael. Where do you think they're going to be at by the time the season starts? I don't want you to look too far into the crystal ball down in December, but like, where do you think they'll be before?
I mean,
in Ireland.
If we assume things trend to kind of keep how we're doing, where they get Petty and they get these 2 running backs, and then maybe they add another, DB. I know they want 2 more in this class overall, but if they do those 3 things, get those 3 or 4 guys, they have to be in the top 5. Like, I mean, it's almost impossible for you to see them not be in the top 5 if they get that group.
All right, Michael Langston reporting to us outside the Moore Center, holding that camera phone up for like 8 minutes, 9 minutes almost. Stronger adults than I have. Again, check out the premium recruiting board over on warchant.com. Michael Langston, Matt Lacer, Ben Spicer got you covered on all things recruiting. Michael, thanks for doing this, man.
You got it.
All right, that's a wrap on a really, 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 really way too long Monday show. Hit the thumbs up, 5-star rating and review. Guess what? We're going to do this all over again tomorrow. Maybe not completely all over again because I don't want to do another hour, 10-minute long show, but we'll have observations, Corey and myself. If you don't want to wait, be a subscriber to warchant.com, promo code FSU1, 2 months, $1. You can read all of Corey's observations and some of my trench observations in a nice, easily palatable, digestible format right on your screen in a reading format. But come to the podcast, hang out. It's always fun. Put us on in the background. It's okay. For Michael and Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.